So, we've got a number 1 deluxe meal. Is there anything else I can get you?
Yeah, I'd also like a good night's sleep.
Excuse me, sir?
You know, the I didn't struggle all night with my uncomfortable CPAP mask, or something like the my wife didn't kick me out to sleep on the couch because of my constant tossing and turning.
Sir, we don't have anything like that here. I think what you're looking for is Inspire. It's an implant that works inside your body to treat sleep apnea without a CPAP. That way you can breathe normally and rest more soundly.
Come on! Oh, he sounds hangry. Inspire is the only FDA-approved sleep apnea treatment of its kind. It's helping tens of thousands of people finally get restful sleep. To learn more, visit InspireSleep.com. That's InspireSleep.com. Inspire, sleep apnea innovation. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you, and review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.
The Shark Deck.
Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. The New York Times did a long profile of Matt Rife, and they wrote, after 11 years in clubs, Matt Rife was selling around 70 tickets per show. He wasn't even a big enough name last summer to get an invitation to Just for Laughs in Montreal. He decided to go anyway. He said, last July I was in Montreal for a festival I wasn't invited to. I had to fly myself out, put myself up for no pay. I was sitting there at dinner with my friend and my manager, and I was going to post a video of crowd work. I was watching it, and I was like, this is so stupid. Why am I even doing this? The video in question was Matt in Phoenix going back and forth with a female audience member who said she had broken up with her boyfriend because, as she put it, he didn't do anything when he came home from his job. During the exchange, we find out the woman's ex was an emergency room worker, and Matt said, oh, I'm sorry, you broke up with a hero? That got a lot of laughs. Rife posted the video. It got 20 million views in 2 or 3 days. Matt says it became this massive chain reaction and an explosion of an audience. From then on, every video I posted went viral. He announced his problematic world tour last month. He sold out 260 dates in North America, Europe, and Australia in 48 hours. 600,000 tickets in all. Wow. Some resale tickets going for $500. Who are you, Taylor Swift? Times ran right at it, though, and wrote, despite the countless hours he spent at the mic, his popularity may have as much to do with his cheekbones as his comedic chops. Tall and strikingly handsome, with blue eyes, a chiseled jawline, and full lips, Rife is something rare in the comedy world, a heartthrob. He has played his looks to his advantage. A black and white glossy photograph on his website shows him shirtless and tattooed in a bad boy pose. His hair is always artfully tousled, like that of a boy band member. He wears rolled up t-shirts on stage that show off his toned biceps. His fans tend to be young and female. I asked my daughters if they knew who he was. They knew who he was. The Times says his club dates are often more Magic Mike than Comedy Central presents. He titled his first YouTube special OnlyFans because people were searching Matt Rife OnlyFans on the internet. That show got 8.5 million views. Rife said his sex appeal, like his career surge, is relatively new. He describes himself as a late bloomer, and photos from a few years ago show a gangly-looking youth whose strong jaw, high cheekbones, and Jagger-esque lips had yet to coalesce into a pleasing whole, writes the Times. Rife said, I was ugly for so long. I spent the first 22 years of my life building a personality. For what? You think I need to be funny now? Sounds like a cool guy. He's self-aware. That's nice. Nimesh Patel talked to High Times, your home for comedy news, about bombing. Nimesh said, bombing nights are often talked about because they teach you a lot, but killing it on stage can be just as informative. When you're in the zone and everything's clicking, it gives you a surge of confidence. You learn how to capture that momentum and use it to your advantage. Like throwing in new tags or tweaking jokes on the spot, it's about harnessing that energy and being able to replicate it even on nights when you're not killing. Having the confidence to try new things and explore different angles comes from those successful moments on stage, so there are valuable lessons to be learned from both bombing and killing. Jorge Kondabolu was on with Gianmarco Ceresi on his podcast, and I found this fascinating. I got to get Jorge on, because Jorge and I both grew up in the same neighborhood in Queens. I just find him very interesting. He said, I've never smoked weed. Wow, I'm a square, old school square. To me, that's fascinating for a comedian. Or he said, I felt I was always a quote-unquote good boy, you know? But at the same time, just the idea of losing control in any way always made me feel uncomfortable, and I don't think I ever had friends who were the type that would be adventurous. I made a TV pilot where I do things I've never done before for the first time. The other episodes were going to be swimming and driving. I haven't done a lot of things. I can't swim, I can't drive, I've never been on a roller coaster, I've never done yoga, I've never been to a strip club, I've never smoked weed. Stand-up is one of the few things I know how to do, to be perfectly honest.
I'm Erica, 1/3 of the podcast Books and Betches, a comedy book podcast where we swear, spoil, and we talk about...
Whoa, you cannot say that in this.
What do you mean? That's our slogan. It's our gimmick.
How about we just give some examples of things we talk about?
Well, there's a lot of chaos.
I'm Kristen, and with me I have...
Whopper!
No.
A lot of sidebar conversations.
Are you denying the existence of chupacabras?
You know, Erica, yes, I am.
You can listen to new episodes of the Books and Betches podcast every Tuesday morning, anywhere you get your podcasts.
The Herald Scotland asked some comedians performing at the Edinburgh Fringe about cancel culture. Alison Spittle said culture wars are for people with too much time on their hands and grifters. Comics whine about free speech because they can't use slurs without being called out. I don't believe in culture war. People want tolerance. Some want nothing to change. What are they protecting? Top Gear? Using the word gay negatively? It's passé. Society changes. Sachin Kumarandran says, I was recently booked for a rugby club dinner. Armed with zingers, I looked forward to in good humor roasting the sport. One audience member elected to, on stage, grab me and threaten to throw me out. Fortunately, it de-escalated. There's some old proverb about a single snowflake causing an avalanche. This one could have. People objecting to me saying anything is incredibly rare. When it has occurred, it's predominantly middle-aged men. So comedy demonstrates the representations of culture war. Populist archetypes of who's offended often aren't true. In my experience, making fun of rugby is statistically the most offensive topic. Comedian Thenjiwi said, comedy is best friends with tragedy. When used right, it's the greatest tool for progressive change. Humor challenges people to address social issues. Coming from South Africa, comedy played a big role in addressing issues politics failed to address. My comedy rule number 1, if you can't say it in front of the person you're talking about, don't say it. Rule 2, if it's not your lived experience, don't decide how people who lived it should feel. You're comedians, not judges. When apartheid censorship ended, South African freedom of speech turned a new leaf. Comedy is one of the main things uniting us. We're rich and poor laugh together. Comedy is cheaper than therapy, but as the saying goes, laughter is the best medicine, except when you have diarrhea. Good news for the Fringe Festival. The Guardian reports they were under some financial worries. Their previous sponsor, TV channel Dave, pulled out. But they have new backers. Sky TV and DLT Entertainment and the Victoria Wood Foundation wrote some checks. They'll sponsor Best Show, Best Newcomer, and Panel Prize awards. Nika Burns is the director of The Fringe. It says, I cannot thank them enough for responding so swiftly and decisively in the true spirit of Fringe. Burns has been running the awards since 1984 when an obscure California group called the Brass Band won and were never heard of again. The BBC announced some new shows to air on Radio 4. These will air Fridays at 6:30. Which in the States would be just an awful time to air anything. Maybe these will also live on the BBC app, I imagine, I assume, I hope. They'll air on Friday evenings from July 28th to September 1st. BBC Suit says these specials will be broadcast in Radio 4's popular Friday night comedy slot between the series of Dead Ringers and the News Quiz. Here are the shows. First up, The Newsmakers. Rachel Paris will deliver her views on the week's news and then talk to the people at the center of those stories, all of whom are fictional and played by comedians. Number 2, What Are You Talking About? Host Reese James is joined by a gaggle of comedy's fastest rising stars. They'll look at the news and ask why, how come, and why though. Number 3 is Dom Jolly Breaks the News. Dom will host a mashup of prank calls, interviews, and features. Dom is serious about tackling the actual news of the week. He just wonders whether approaching it from a slightly different angle might give us a more interesting answer. 4th, the United Nations of News. Ria Lina leads up a crack team of comics from around the globe. Parts of the globe include Malawi, Spain, and Australia. Catherine Bohart's show is called TLDR, as in Too Long Didn't Read. She and her team will be digging deep into one big story that's making the news. That sounds a little John Oliver-ish. And The Naked Week. Host Andrew Hunter Murray strips away the flimsy covering and jeer, and not only the big stories, but also the way in which the news itself is packaged and presented. And that is your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Smash the like button. Follow the shows. Do all that. Tell a friend. See you tomorrow.